This is one of those things that is like a spider web attaching to nearly every aspect of what Logic Pro is and can do. That being said, I think it's really important to understand it so that you can use it even when you're making your first songs. And so that's what this tutorial number 4 in this series is all about. The Smart Tempo functionality. We're going to be talking about how this can save you hours of time because it is so good, but if you don't understand how to use it, you're really going to be floundering around with some of the most basic, powerful things that this software can do. So let's talk about this system. The Apple site says that it is powered by AI. I'm assuming that means Apple Intelligence. But what it is a really smart system for helping us understand all of our audio and MIDI across each of our projects. Let's break this down, though, by demonstrating a few different examples, and then we'll dive into more of the settings and things about how it works. In the default transport, and if you don't have this, then you might just go to the default, we have this little button that says Keep. Click on it. This is the project tempo mode, and we have 3 different options: Keep, Adapt, and Auto. So Keep, it just means that whatever the project tempo, and you can find the project tempo inside your global tracks. If you don't see it here, right-click, and you can turn on the tempo option. This tempo track shows us the tempo for the project that we're in, and if this is set to keep, it will follow that pretty much no matter what we do. What we want to start off with, though, is setting this to adapt. I love adapt. It means that it's going to listen to what we're playing, and it will use information that it gets from its analysis of our notes through that. Now I'm going to come down. We have just an empty instrument track. I'm going to load up. We'll do a drum machine designer right here. Cool. Let's come over here and load up just one of these kits. There we go. Compact. Cool. That means we have a bunch of different sounds. So we have a kick and a snare, and we can use this to do a pattern. So we have this in adapt mode. I've got a drum machine designer loaded. I'm going to play the oldest of all drum patterns ever made. Let's record. One thing I want to do is wait until visually it gets close to a downbeat. That always makes it a little bit easier. It doesn't matter where I do it because I can move it around, especially on the first instrument. But we'll do it. Let's just hit stop and go back and start it one more time. That way we can just do it on beat bar 2. Okay. Now you can see the tempo that I was playing this at. It already moved things around. It's at 119.3 and then 118.1. Let's turn on the click so we can hear if that actually lined it up. And we can move this right to the beginning of the track, and you'll see that it moved with this. Actually, let's undo that. You will see there's a little change there as well. The tempo, it shows red, but it's going to line it up just perfect right there. Okay, let's loop play this for a second. And it had that space at the very end. Now I'm going to double click on this. It brings up our piano roll editor, but also one of these 3 tabs is the Smart Tempo. And so now you can see the Smart Tempo editor, which is what this used to analyze what we played and give us the actual tempo from it. So we have the analysis. These orange lines are the downbeats that it guesses, and then it's also tracking up above the tempo that we played it at. Now this one, you see each of these have these little dots on them, and they're different functionality. The top one makes it so we can move the marker. So maybe like this first one, you can see it's not quite on the downbeat. I'm going to move it over just so it's right on the downbeat. We could also do things like scale the selection. That's moving things around, but also changing the subdivision. This one is a scale all. If we can click on it, well, let's do this one here. That's in. You can see I'm moving everything in the whole recorded area. Just put it back to where it was. We have things like scale left, but move it right. So all the things to the right keep their timing, but the one to the left is scaled. And that just means it stretches those markers. We can add subdivisions as well. Or say that it misanalyzed what I did. I could actually click at the top of these other ones and set the downbeat, and then that would switch it to the 1 and so forth. If for some reason it analyzed this incorrectly and thought that maybe we were, wanting to do a slower or faster tempo, we have buttons right here in the middle. This one is the divide by 2, or it's really going to just make it faster. So and let's undo that, and let's do times 2. So now you can see the tempos are 493. Not what we really want. Okay, we're back to the beginning. Now, anything past this, that orange line means that we can still be recording or playing something in record mode, and it will capture the tempo. But say that we're done and we have what we want, we can just switch it to keep. It goes back to blue across the entire thing. Now, at any point, because we've now decided to keep this tempo map here, I can actually reset this. I can pull this over the edge. I can pull this up maybe to 160-ish around there. Let's do it up to 211. So now the tempo is locked in with that smart tempo markers, and we can adjust this to any place that we want. And a lot of that is because of the analysis that happened based off of the Apple Intelligence Smart Tempo Engine. Great. Let's keep on going with this because it's like building blocks. We're going to build one block and then put another one on top. And the more we do, the deeper this gets. But I think it's worth understanding how it works. Before moving on to another track and another technique, one thing we're going to talk about later on in this series would be MIDI editing. And one of those things is quantization, which moves things to a grid. Well, we have a grid here with the smart tempo. This is just the analysis of the transients. But I can also layer on another quantization process, which will put all of these notes exactly in time. Quantize eighth notes. There we go. So now everything is perfectly on the beat. Do we want it that way all the time? Maybe not. But in some cases, we might want to make sure it's like perfectly performed. And so the quantization that we'll set equals the smallest subdivision that we have. Since we have eighth notes here, it makes sense to set an eighth note subdivision. With 16th notes, it's not catching enough of the notes. If we did quarter notes or half notes, it would move everything onto duplicate beats. So we're going to put on eighth notes just to really keep that tight. Let's talk about the next way to record. So we looked at just using the adapt project tempo mode. Awesome. We also have this thing called free tempo recording. And so maybe I've got some chords that I want to play over this. Let's add a new track. And with this new track, we'll put on some sort of pad or keyboard part. And we want to layer this, but maybe it's like I don't exactly know what chords I want to do, but or maybe I'm not a great keyboard player, or even I don't know exactly what tempo I want. And so that's where this is going to really come into play. So let's do, we'll do one of our vintage keys, electric piano. And they always have the bass up too loud on this. Right, so we have this kind of Rhodes sound. Something. Right, but I don't know. So we're going to use this thing called the free tempo recording option. This one should be up by default, but again, if it's not, you can always right-click, customize the control bar, and you'll see it's in the second one under transport called free tempo recording. And while I'm here, I'm going to turn on flashback capture. We'll get to that in just a moment. But one nice thing about this is I can push the free tempo, and I think what I'm going to do is move everything over by 2 bars just so I'm not running up against the beginning of the project. I like having that little bit of space. So let's change the name of this track. Let's turn off the cycle record. We don't need that. Let's push the free tempo record button or use the key command. So we're going to do this. We're going to wait for the downbeat, although it won't play the sound. And I don't have to follow a tempo. Because we can edit almost everything. Now, here are the choices we have. We can apply this new tempo to the project, which is what we're going to do this time. But we could also do an average region tempo if we had like a good sense that it was pretty solid. Or we could apply the project one to this, and this would be forced to fit inside the project. Or we can have it do nothing. But I want to have the actual chords that I just played kind of set the tempo for now. So we're going to hit apply with the top one selected. We're going to click on that and make sure we go to the smart tempo. And you'll see that first one is in the right. Then we have the subdivision 2, 3, 4. So let's move this onto there. And then we'll move this one. We could actually have it scale at the same time, but I don't know if we need to yet. Let's listen. Right? And so we have that. Now we're going to do one more of these, but first we are going to pick one of these tempos as kind of our overall tempo. 108. Okay, cool. So new tempo based on what I played the second time. Let's do one more addition to this. And with this, we'll just add like a synthesizer bass. Cool. So we did the chords. So we'll do that in the bass. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the free tempo recording. Just kind of wait. And this time, when we get up to that part, right? This time I'm going to say apply project tempo to the region. And so now we didn't change our tempo at all. It's still 108, but hopefully this bass, let's click on the region here and go to smart tempo. And it looks like it's pretty good. There's one note here. I'm just going to select and delete. Okay. Right, so now whatever I played there, even though I played it in a different tempo, didn't even hear it, it's all getting matched up. Do I need to do this? No. There's things about this that I think are a little bit tricky. For instance, let's just option click and drag this over to bar 8. And now I'm going to go to my keys here, so I can just push record. Let's do a count in though. I want to do a count in on this recording. We'll do 1 bar, that's fine. Right? So, I mean, I played it. I played it with the click track and with the tempo and with the drums. I didn't need to do it the other way, but there are times when the other way with the free recording make a lot of sense. For instance, if I'm playing acoustic guitar and I don't have any other tracks, then I can do the free record with acoustic guitar and it will analyze my performance and give me the tempo. If I want to play a piano and not have to feel like there's a click track, then I can do it that way. With these drums at the beginning, I did it one time because I wanted to feel the tempo. I did it with the keys the second time because maybe I thought it was a little too fast and wanted to slow it down. So it's an evolving process. But if I know exactly the tempo I want, then I can do this all just with MIDI. Right? So I don't have to do that with that free tempo thing every time. Okay, cool. Just some ideas about how that works. Let's talk about the next one of these, though, which is this thing called the Flashback capture. Audio and MIDI. It's cool. But I'm going to go up to my keys here in the middle, and I'm going to be like, you know what? What are these chords I want? So I'm going to play this thing. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, that was the perfect thing I've ever played. Well, I can click on the Flashback capture, and it will do this thing where it will play it. Everything I just did. Now I'm going to undo that because we can actually redo that for a second. Redo. Okay, cool. We can do this a couple different ways now. One of them is smart tempo this. We're going to analyze it. And then we are going to go to the edit menu, apply region tempo to project tempo just for that section, align downbeat to nearest project downbeat, apply. So now one's a little bit off, I think. Maybe not. Maybe it is the right one. I played it really far back down on the analysis. But now, because we have this, let's see. Let's just select. There's other ways to do this, but we're just going to select without changing tools. Now this is all 108. Right? So now I just played this without even record arming, without even engaging the record on the transport, and it recorded it. Now, if I take it one step further and go to keep and switch that to adapt, and now I play something. Right? Now I'm going to push that same button. Again, nothing was running. Transport wasn't going. Flashback capture. And I set it to adapt. Now it's actually capturing the tempo of what I just did as well. Awesome. That means I can now pull this into other places. All that tempo is going to go with it. Let's put this on to keep though. If I move it now, you'll see that that doesn't go with it, but we might not actually want all of it to go with it anyway. Boom. We just set that back to, 108 for the whole thing. We'll do the drums on this one as well. Okay, this works with audio and MIDI. I know you're seeing it all with MIDI right now. MIDI is one of those things that it makes sense that this would work with, but it works with audio. And I'm going to open up a project now which actually showcases that, but I wanted to work through these basic concepts first. The overall tempo mode, keep, adapt, auto. Great. And then to look at the flashback, capture, and also the free tempo recording. All of those tie together. And we're not even done because all of these tie into flex, which we're going to look at in this next project. Let's actually open up this project, but we'll leave this one open. This is an old project and one that I started before Smart Tempo was even a thing. And I thought it'd be an interesting thing to use as an example for this. But I have some parts in here which are recorded with audio. It has a vocal, it has background vocals, it has some like ukulele type things and some guitar type things and a vocoder type thing. So a lot of things that we can use to talk about this. But we're going to look at first another way that the Smart Tempo ties so many things together. So when it does the analysis of these parts, and here's this ukulele part. Process with effects. It ties into the story and the song. But we have this thing called the groove track. Now the groove track is part of that quantization that I was alluding to previously, where you have this grid that you can move things to. You can quantize audio and MIDI in Logic to different effect, but in this case, I'm using this thing called a groove track. It's this little star at the beginning of the track header. It is not on by default. You have to right-click. You have to do track components and say groove track, turn it on, and then it will just look like this, and then you'll have to go through and star the groove track or the source for the groove. And then these little check marks say that everything that's checked will line up with the thing that's the groove track. So these are the match groove track check marks. So now when I do the drums, for instance, this will line up with it. And actually, there's one other thing I need to do. I have my drums split out on this original project, which is kind of fun. It's some of them are coming on an aux track, so I just want to actually create a track for that so we have them both up in here. That's just a side note. I want you to be able to hear all of the drums. And so it's going off of the data on the track. So that's the drummer track data is what's controlling this, even though some of the other drums are coming out a different place. Let me let you hear this other part of this ukulele. We're going to use the join tool, select and join. It's an edit that I've lived with for a long time. I don't think I need to worry about that. Here's what this sounds like. But I'm going to turn off the groove track first.
Hold me close, but don't.
There we go. It's not horrible, but it's also not as tight as it could be. Let's zoom in when I turn this on and off for a second so you can actually see what's happening. So I'm going to turn it off, turn it on. You'll see there's movement here. Ever so slightly, the movement changes this. And let's play that again now with it on, with the click track.
Listen to the words I'll never say. Hey, I'm free. Hold me close, but don't touch me. Hold my hand.
It's just tighter, and that's what we needed from that. Let's double click on this, take it into Smart Tempo, and you'll see that it's here. And we can do these things called hints. Hint mode. Let's turn off hint mode. And you'll actually see that it's a good analysis. The hint mode is useful because you can guide this whole process. But we're just going to move that one over. All the rest of these look pretty good. So we're not going to worry about them too much. I can also, if I want to, go to my view and say, show the tempo curve overlay. And you can see now that there are some things happening in terms of the overlay.
Hold me close, but don't touch.
I just want to see, okay. Yeah, we're good.
Touch me. Hold my hand, I'll turn away. Don't look at me, I'll hide inside.
Okay, so that being done, there are things we could do with this. We could actually send this tempo up to the project that came with this, but the song is pretty well developed, so we're not worrying about that too much. But both of these rely on the Smart Tempo operation in order to be fully grooved to the drums. And I think that that's a great example of how that works. Let's see. This is an old project. I'm not sure. I'll see if this one has it.
Hurricane. It's whirlwinds inside my brain.
Yep, so you can see the tempo variations in the original performance, of course, being flattened by the overall project tempo and pulled right in line. Most of the time, we don't have to get into the Smart Tempo editor, but every once in a while we do. And so it's nice to know you can double click and change it to that view and see what's happening with this. So let's talk about flex and follow. When you import or record audio into a project, there's this thing over in our properties in the region. So you can see that the region up there, let's just do one region. And you'll see flex and follow, and it's turned on. And that just has it follow the tempo of the project. We can also align it just per each bar or bars and beats. I just have it set on most of the time and don't set to that nuance unless I'm noticing something going on. So here's how that works. And I believe with some of these, I have this, like these background vocals were recorded and they were never turned on for all of them. So that one's turned off. Let me show you why this becomes important. Let's go to this part right here.
Hold me close, but don't touch me.
So I can come to the project, which is set to 150, and just say I want it to be 170.
Oh, away, I'm free. Hold me close, but don't touch me. Hold my hand, I'll turn away.
So now these backing things are wrong because they weren't set to flex and follow before I changed the overall project tempo. So we're going to go back to 150. I'm going to select that top one and say on. And we'll do the same for this. I don't even know what's in that one. And then I probably didn't need to rechange the tempo in between, but I like to practice good things.
Hold me close, but don't touch me.
All of these ones here look like they're set to off as well. Okay, we're back.
Hold my hand, I'll turn away.
We're going to go back to 150. It does make a difference. I just noticed when I did that in the middle, this whole thing kind of went away. You got to be really careful when you're doing some of these things. Logic is like any piece of software filled with bugs. And so if you notice one of your regions go down to like 1 centimeter instead of a foot long, then something happened. And we have to go back and retrace our steps. Okay, so flex and follow becomes really important. See, it just did it right there. I don't know we're going to leave it off. We're not changing our tempo. Something about that file. So let's actually go up to our project settings for this. And one way to get that easily for this setting is to click on where it says Keep Tempo and go to Smart Tempo Project Settings down here. So Flex and Follow has its own setting. You see the top one are just these 3 modes, and it has some explanations. Defaults for Flex and Follow region setting. Set new recordings to on. You want to make sure this is on for your projects. I think it's important. And then for imported files to on as well. And then you can actually have it trim the start of new regions. I don't think we need to do that. By the way, down below for the free tempo we already looked at, I have it set to ask all the time, but you can have it do one of these by default if you want. I just prefer to have it ask every time. Okay, so now new recordings set to on. It means every time we record some audio, the flex and follow will be on. We can change the overall tempo. Great. That takes us into the flex mode of our editor. So this one down here, we'll do it with this, the high part. Open up here. We're going to go back to track for our view. And we're going to turn on flex. It's the sideways hourglass, or kind of like an infinity signal, but it's like a waveform. We're going to turn it on. And with this mode, you'll see we have different colors to our waveform. They're already being changed. So if I were to come down and turn off the groove track, they would all go back to blue. The groove track is already flex timing things. And it's in slicing mode, which is a mode that means that things get moved, but they don't get time stretched or expanded. That's great. So for this, I can add these little markers in and could change how some of this sounds. So for instance, I'm going to click this last one and just add like a little bit of a syncopation type thing. So it goes da-da-da at the end, da-da-da. We're going to undo that. But we can change our timing around and do a lot of really cool things with this. This mode has a whole different set of tools. It has this one with a plus, which means I can add either one on a transient, if I can get that with a little triangle at the top. I can add one off of the transient, or I can pull them to stretch and move them, or I can go down below where it says 3, and it'll add 3 of them, the one you're moving and the 2 on either side, and you can move things around. Cool. That's a great way to do fine-tuned editing with this whole Flex engine. Let's do this in a way that I think is even more useful. We're going to do this on these 2 regions in the middle that are muted. I have them muted because I didn't like them. I think muting things that don't work is one of the strengths of good engineer. But you can see we have a few, it's a harmony part and they're not lined up. Now you could use a tool like Vocal Line, which doesn't work as ARA plugin with the universal mode of Logic, but it does with the non-universal. But we're going to go up here to the top and turn on flex mode out here in our track view. That's pretty cool. We have other things out here, so I got to be careful. Because you can only have like one mode at a time, but we're going to switch these to, we're going to do monophonic. That's fine. Just to show you. So we have the moda here. If I'm in my pointer tool, I have all the same tools out here on the track. The reason this is nice is because I can look down at the track below and line these up based on visuals, which I think is sometimes not a bad way to do this because we can do it and see how they're going to work. Let's get rid of that one, and let's add this one. And we'll move it down to there. Let's hear these two.
I'll be the man you want me to be.
Yeah, so those two line up, they just don't line up with the one above. But we can do this, and the monophonic mode is actually pretty good in terms of voices like this.
I'll be the boy you want to be.
Yeah, so I didn't sing it well.
Be the man you want me to be.
So let's undo that. We're going to add it way out here because I think I was still hearing some of it. Let's try that.
Me to be.
I mean, I shortened it that much. The original.
Me to be.
So moving it down into there, you would have thought, oh, that'll just give you all kinds of artifacts.
You want me to be.
There are some stretch marks out here. We could delete that because it's silence. Okay, so this is a really nice way to be able to line up some parts of backing vocals or instruments and things. Let's put this back to flex pitch, though, because there are some parts later in the song which are affected by that. And let's see. We have these two. Yeah, mute tool. Okay. Let's get rid of flex. There we go. And we'll just mute those again. Okay, so flex. The other things that we didn't really look at just now in flex. Let's pull open like this big one here. We have these other modes. Monophonic, that's a single line at a time, does really well with voice and other solo lines. Slicing, great for percussive things, rhythmic as well, but it will time compress and expand. Polyphonic is designed to work best with things that are multiple notes simultaneously. It uses like a vocoder type technology. And then speed and tempophone, that's like analog kind of tape days where you make it shorter and it gets higher, or you try not to and it stretches it out, but it doesn't sound great. Those are really for special effects. So all of those modes, one at a time. You can't use them more than one at a time. So if you have a voice that you want to use one on for one phrase and another on for another phrase, option, click, and drag, and you'll have another voice track, and you can just delete everything except for the phrase that you want to do this with, and then delete it from the original. So it's a nice way to be able to spread it out, but you have to use separate tracks for each of them. It's a lot of information. I hope you can see the tangled web that Smart Tempo is inside Logic. It goes beyond this. That technology certainly has been brought into other places. I'll show you one example. Software instrument track, And let's do sampler, quick sampler, right? We'll do the quick sampler. Inside the quick sampler, you'll see for this, we have that little flex option. And that same technology uses it to stretch it out so that with sampling technology, the higher you go on the keyboard, it keeps the time the same length no matter what, because it's using flex to change it. There's a lot of little things about this technology that have crept into other instruments. And so I think it's you'll need to know about it even if you're not using it on the main tracks. The last thing I'll end with all of this, well, we'll do two things here. One, I want to show you what we had to do before because it's still here and still usable for specific instances. We're going to do beat mapping. And this beat mapper is what we had to do to create custom tempo maps before. So at any point through here, and I'll do this on a MIDI region for a second. So I'd have to grab a downbeat and move it to any one of these things, and it would move the downbeat. And so this whole process, I could easily do an entire song in maybe 10 minutes. But just by dragging to the downbeats and then fine-tuning it out. This was the way we were creating custom maps before. And I think it's still a usable tool, but I love having the smart tempo option, which does it automatically. That was one thing. The second thing is I showed you with flex and follow set on all the audio tracks, so you can easily change your tempo. We're going to right-click and customize our control bar display and turn on Varispeed, which is from the old analog tape days. We have speed only, Varispeed, which is speed and pitch, and then Varispeed and MIDI. We're using MIDI, so we'll put it on this for the moment. Well, let's leave it just speed for a second. And then we can change from percentage, or we can set up a tempo option or a detune or a tuning reference for but not with the speed only. But then I can change the speed for my entire project with just clicking and dragging. So 1% faster. Turn off the click.
I'd like to see inside the sun. I've always thought that would be fun.
This is really useful if you're just trying out different tempos and things. I will say if we do Varispeed and MIDI, and I change this to tuning reference, and I go to 443, which of course is a magical number, this is going to make my song sound like it's from another world. I'm mostly making a joke right now, but
I'd like to see inside the sun.
yeah, it sounds pretty much the same. Let's do a percentage with Varispeed, and let's just go 1% up. This is something we might have done with a 2-inch tape machine where we're recording and everything's sounding fine, but it's like we get to a point where we're like, that's not kicking like we thought it should be. We would just go to Varispeed and creep it up a little bit and add that little bit of extra something. It would change the speed and the pitch because the tape was just moving faster.
Going to be my last. Hold me close, words I'll never say. Now I know that this was what was supposed to be. Find my way to you to set me free. And this was always going to be the one and only path. And you were always going to be my last.
Does it change the pitch of the voice? Sure. Does it matter? Of course not. Whatever you want to do is what you want to do. You can always turn it back off and go without it. But it's a nice option. You can also use this if you're doing speed only and you're like, I really wish I could just play this piano part. I don't know how to do it that fast.
at this time. I've always thought that would be fun.
Considering I had to slow it down by 19%, even the voice sounds pretty good. It's originally fairly processed, but it's impressive how well this technology works. It has gotten better over time. It's cool and tied into the whole smart tempo functionality of the entire system. What haven't we talked about? We haven't really dragged in files to import them, but we looked at the settings for that. It works the same way. You can use them to set the project tempo or not. There's some precision editing we haven't talked about. There's some phase locked editing that can happen if you're recording like a drum kit with multiple microphones. We'll get to that maybe later with video on drums and editing audio drums or just audio editing in general. But I think we're at a good point with this where we have enough information about the smart tempo option and functionality to get you going. Is there more? Well, I'm sure there's some more here in the smart tempo editor that we haven't talked about in terms of, the tempo variable versus constant when you're doing the analysis, and then reanalyzing or just removing the tempo information from everything and starting over. So there are some other things here, but for the most part, I think that we demonstrated pretty much everything and showcased how and why it could be useful. That's it for this video. If you're enjoying these, let me know. If you want the written handout that comes with each video, become a channel member. That's a pretty low cost entry way to get that information, and we'll be doing some more with the members as the membership grows. But come back next week because we'll be doing another one of these tutorials every week for the foreseeable future until we either cover it all or people say they hate them. But that's it. Thanks a lot for watching.